Hey guys, it's Ethan, and today we're going to walk through how to write high quality copy using make.com, Airtable, AI, how to improve that copy over time, and how to schedule it out automatically so that you don't have to do that manually. So let's dive right into it. So I'm going to preface this first with there's a million different content automation videos on YouTube. And they'll all teach you kind of the basics of how to create the content, how to run it through AI, how to put it into Airtable. But these are things that I've developed myself specifically for the purposes of being able to test different prompts and write higher quality copy. So the key here is that the majority of the videos online, the copy is not that great. I've tested all their prompts, and the differentiator here is going to be how high quality of prompts can you write and how rapidly can you test those prompts and then get the data after you actually post the prompts, or post the content rather, to see if it actually works. So let's dive right into it. So the essence of it is going to be this LinkedIn post creator. So I'm specifically trying to nail LinkedIn. I think it's better to actually start with one platform at a time rather than trying to do all the platforms, because if your goal is actually high quality engaging copy, you're just gonna not get where you want to go if you're trying to test four platforms at the same time. And so let's dive right into this. So we have an RSS feed. I basically just hooked this up to my Beehive newsletter. I basically just was wondering, my whole philosophy with these content systems is that you create one piece of high quality long form content. So that's either a YouTube video or a long form newsletter. And then that is the thing that generates all the other pieces of content. And so there's this Beehive newsletter. I basically wrote one on like how to create AI systems. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm parsing through this data. Here's the URL, and this is just getting the content from the URL, and then it's just using some regex to parse out some characters. You don't even necessarily need these modules, they're not necessary. And so let's dive into this. So originally I had two routes because I was testing, can I just create the LinkedIn post directly from the article? And what I found is it's actually more beneficial to generate a bunch of headlines, and like the hook sentence is the most important sentence on any platform, but specifically on LinkedIn, the first sentence is going to be the most important one. And so you basically want to make sure that you nail that. And so basically what I did here was I have a headline generator which says write me 10 headlines about this topic. The topic is the title of the article. And I just separate every headline with a hashtag. The output should include a list of headlines and nothing else. Make a headline as clear as possible. List the target reader in the headline. Use one of the frameworks below. Make the headline as precise and specific as possible. Include that outcome the reader will achieve in the headline. And so I stole this directly from someone called, there's this program called Shift 30 for 30. And basically they're saying that you can have these frameworks: skills, tools, traits, steps, goals, habits, stories, quotes. These are like the building blocks, and then you want it to be as specific as possible. So then I put, here are examples of great headlines. Then I'm basically parsing out that text, and I'm basically saying, I can't even remember what I was doing here, but the idea, I think there was like some weird characters that I was parsing out here. I don't actually know regex. I just use ChatGPT to write me regex. So that's what's going on. And so the magic is right here. If you go split text and then you have this hashtag, the text is actually the text that I parsed from the headline. So it's a bunch of headlines split by hashtags. If you say split, the output's going to be an array, and you can iterate on that array and put each of the array items into Airtable. So this is the headline, and then the title is from the RSS feed. And this is actually really important. So the thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take the raw text from the newsletter or whatever the piece of content is, and you want to put that into Airtable, because when we call that in future steps, you want the AI to know what the source text is so that it's not trying to create a piece of content based on solely a headline. You can say later, what we'll get into is it's like, here are 10 headlines, which headlines do you like? And when you trigger the post to be created in Airtable, which I'll show you shortly, it'll take the source text with it and feed that into AI as well. And so let's jump into Airtable here. So here is basically the system. The whole idea here is that you need certain components to create high quality copy, right? So you need something like, obviously the headline needs to be extremely good, but the other one is that you want to understand what are the problems that you're solving. What are the solutions? What is the audience that you're targeting? What are their pain points, desires? What is the value proposition that you're offering? And so basically our goal here is to write as high quality of long form copy as possible, then to extract all of these items from the copy as well, and then to feed those into the LinkedIn post generator. So now that we're over here in the headline area, you can see I can run it again, but it's going to give me similar types of copy, but let's just try it anyway. So if I just say like run all modules, you can see it's going, grabbing the article, and it's probably just going to give me my credit balance is too low. So let me just up that real quick. Literally just put $50 into it like 2 weeks ago, but okay, so I just reloaded up on some credits. I put $50 in on September 4th, and it's now the 20th, so it looks like I'm about on track to spend $100 a month. Did not realize I was. This is definitely something to actually take into account, is that if you're running these modules and you're iterating on things, then it's literally running the AI module like potentially 20 times per scenario. And then if you're running the scenario like 20 to 100 times, that's already getting up to like 400 different queries on like Claude or something. And so when you're thinking about this, thinking in terms of like cost efficiency is definitely something that at the start you don't really need to think about. But as you're diving into it more, it becomes more and more important. And so let's try this one more time. I think I need to actually... oh no, it's working. All right, so we have the RSS feed into the HTTP module, pulling the article. It's going to parse text. It's going really slow, so I'm just going to restart this video once it finishes. Okay, so it looks like it was something with make, so I just wanted to show you what it looks like when it's finishing. So as you can see, the iterator is working, and it basically pulled 10 different headlines out of the AI module and then added all 10 into Airtable. So now let's go over to Airtable, and you can see all these headlines just showed up. Actually, let me go to the grid view. All right, all these headlines just showed up into this. And so now you can see that we have the source newsletter title, the newsletter raw text, and then the headline right here. And so we don't really need the source newsletter title. We don't really need the raw text because that's just AI data for later. And as you can see here, we have the yes and the no columns. So this is like 7 steps to building an automated content engine that generates hundreds of blog posts per month. That's all right. And so the idea here is that I'm filtering it out if both of these are no, and then each of these are filtered by yes and no. And then I'll show you some of the automations next. But essentially the automations, it's saying that if this is yes, it sends it to a webhook on make.com, and then it runs the next AI module. And so I don't really love the first one. The second one, the ultimate toolkit for entrepreneurs. I don't really like that one either. 5 secrets of highly productive content creators. Don't really like that one. Content marketers, boost your ROI by 300. And sometimes I'll just edit these two. So 10 content automation mistakes that are killing your traffic. Well, I don't really care about traffic, but if I could say killing your copy. Now that's actually pretty good. So now if I click yes, it's the same thing. And so you can see it's just like every single time a long form piece gets published, it populates a bunch of headlines, and then I'm just going through yes, yes, no, 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 no. So this is a no. This is decent. No. No. Whatever. This is decent. All right. So let's go to the automations. The next thing here is that we have a bunch of different automations running, and the essence of it is that we want to, all of them are sending webhook data to make.com. So this is the headline to make. And basically I'm saying in the headlines base, if yes is checked, then send it to this webhook in make.com. And so let's go back to that module actually. And so if we go here and we can see that there's the original one, the LinkedIn post creator, and then that basically takes the RSS feed. That's one we were just looking at. And then headline to LinkedIn post is the one we want to look at next. And this one is essentially what I was saying. It receives the webhook data from the automation. Then as soon as that happens, it gets the record. And then what we do here is we say, please write a LinkedIn post about, and then we put the headline in from the webhook. We say, imitate the structure, tone, style, formatting, and flow of the examples I provided below. Formatting guidelines, use simple language. Don't use emojis, avoid jargon, LinkedIn post examples, and I give it a bunch of LinkedIn post examples, and then I add the content of the newsletter, and this is the most important part. So I'm asking it to write a LinkedIn post using these examples, but the most important part is I'm saying, here's the content that I want you to use to generate that. And so this is like the raw data that is being used to generate the LinkedIn post. And, you know, a lot of these content automation people on YouTube, it's great content. I love it. But they jump straight from the source data into the post creation. And when you actually add these steps in here, it increases the quality of the output. And so that's what that looks like. And then I create a record in Airtable. So I'll kind of show you, this has run 24 times this month. And so essentially, that's the headline. Whenever I click yes, it will put it into here. And so let's go to, these are the ones that I just added in here, 10 content automation mistakes that are killing your copy. And then it's saying, here is your LinkedIn post. It's adding titles. Sometimes you just delete that. You say content automation is a game changer, but only when done right. Here are the top 10. And so it's like, I don't know. I like to keep my copy concise and to the point. This whole game changer thing, just a little fluff. So it's like 10 content automation mistakes that are killing your copy. And then here are the 10 mistakes I see marketers make to sabotage their automated content. And so this is kind of like saying the same thing twice. So we'll probably want to do something like, here are the top 10 mistakes that sabotage your automated copy, something like that. Then you go 1, automating without a strategy, failing to tailor content by platform, setting and forgetting, tweaking AI like a magic wand, overlooking quality control, focusing on quantity over quality, losing the human touch, skipping on SEO. I don't like that one. Number 8. And then that's just extra stuff from AI. And so it's a pretty solid post, right? Now, the other thing here is that although this headline is pretty good, I wanted to have an extra ability to just keep generating headlines. So if I click new headline here, it's going to actually trigger an automation that's going to go create me a bunch of new ones. And so I'll show you kind of what that looks like here. So if I go in here and I go LinkedIn post view to scheduled view, publish on LinkedIn, regenerate headline function. And so whenever I click regenerate headline, Airtable saying if this condition is true, send webhook data, and it's basically going in and it's pulling that data, turning it into variables. And basically what I'm doing here is this. I'm basically running it through 4 separate prompts. So I'm basically taking that data and then I'm creating this variable. It's like a randomizer, and I'm saying like round the number random times 10. So it gives me a number between 1 and 10. And I'm filtering all of these if the number is less than 3, if the number is 2 to 5, if the number is 6 to 8, if the number is greater than 8. So it's basically gonna do a different one of these, hopefully on every single try. And so basically the idea here is I'm testing 4 different variations of prompts on how to write good headlines. And so every time I click that regenerate headline button, it's going to do that, and it's going to re-update the record with the new headline information. So let's go back to Airtable. As you can see, it put it in here. Content marketers 10 automated mistakes that sabotage your strategy. And so you can see all of these start with the audience, which I don't actually love. So let me just regenerate it. And so this will just regenerate it. And so you can see, as we're thinking through this, there's a lot of different components to writing quality copy. And this is like my V2 or V3 system. So you can see it's some more. And that one is specifically telling me who the audience is, the problem, the solution, the benefits, the call to action. And so it's really difficult to get high quality copy. And you can see that it's like my 3rd iteration on this system, and the copy still is at like 75 or 80%. When I started, it was at like 50. Now it's at like 75 or 80. And so you just keep doing that, and then you say, like, is there one of these that I like? All right, let me put it in the headline column. And then once you're finished with that, what you'll do is you'll go to, where was the one? So I'm actually going to schedule this because why not? And then once you click schedule, basically you have an automation that says LinkedIn post queue to scheduler. Basically what this does is it's saying if I click the checkbox in the LinkedIn post from make headline automation base, it's going to send another webhook, and all that's going to do is it's going to update. I know you could technically do this in Airtable, but I think it's just more reliable to do it in Make, because the whole goal here is that in Make there is a module that let me go back here, let me find the module. LinkedIn system, I think it's the scheduler. It's a scheduled view. And so this is a trick that I learned after quite a bit of testing. And basically what you do here is you take the webhook data, you get the record, and then there's this search record. And what you're doing is you're finding all of the posts in the base that you want to add it to. You're only searching for the scheduled date, and this is really important down here. It's limit 1. You only want to return the top record. And if you're sorting, all right, let me go back. In here, you have to sort by one field, and you have to sort by latest to earliest in the date column. So that will make sure that the most recent, or not the most recent, the furthest scheduled out post is on the top. So that's always going to be the record that it pulls. And then what you do is the output of this is the date. And then in the create record here, you're going to click add days, scheduled date 1. And so it's going to schedule it out 1 day ahead of that. And as you can see, I just scheduled this one out. And now it's scheduled out for 2 days. It's like a day past this one. If you have 20 posts, if you run this 20 times, it'll do 1 post per day. Especially on LinkedIn, it's not good practice to do more than 1 per day. And so that's the system. Whenever that day hits, there's an automation that runs that says, if the scheduled date is today and the status is scheduled, then run the script, send the data to make, and update the status to published so that it doesn't run multiple times. And the only other thing here is publish on LinkedIn. And so something to note here when you're actually publishing the content is it's actually really important. If you don't, you have to schedule it once per day. You don't want it to run as soon as the webhook data is received, because then as soon as it hits that day, it'll send it to the webhook and publish. And I started this and I was wondering why all my posts are being published at like 12:30 a.m. in the morning, in the middle of the night. And so I set it daily at 9:47 a.m. So it basically like builds up a queue of webhook data, ideally only one record from Airtable is in the queue every single day. if you are only scheduling one per day. There will only be one per day. And then when 9:47 a.m. hits, this runs and it processes all the data in the queue and pumps it to LinkedIn. So that's pretty much how the system works right now. I'll definitely be creating more of these videos in the future because I'm constantly refining how this content system works. My goal is to literally have the highest quality content automation systems on the internet that are like actually engaging, actually understanding user personas, problems, audience, niches, solutions, value propositions, adding all of these as different variables into the process, right? And so that's the goal. It's not easy to do. And before we finish this video here, I want to walk you through some of the flows that I created while coming up with this to kind of show you what the ideation process looks like. Okay, so now we're into this FigJam board. And as you can see, I was ideating a lot of different thoughts on this before I actually built the make.com flow. And this is helpful just to think through the logic of something before actually building it out. So as you can see, I was like, all right, I want to start with a newsletter RSS feed. Then I want to create the post. I want to notify VAs to create carousel graphics. I want 15 headlines that are generated in Make. I want the headlines populated in Airtable. I want the top 5 headlines are triggered into full LinkedIn post. And I want the LinkedIn posts that are automatically scheduled from Make back to the carousel graphics. And so this is something that I will explain in a future video. I'm still figuring out exactly all of the aspects of this process. But essentially what I'm building out is there's a couple different carousel generators. I haven't quite figured out how to just trigger Canva directly from make.com, but there's something called AI carousel generator, aicarousels.com. And so what you can do here is one of the options is that you can input JSON and it just creates the carousel for you. And so the thing that I'm working on right now is, why is nothing logged in? I can show it to you in the next video. But the idea is that you can input JSON and that JSON and you can trigger it from an API or you can just import it. And then that will create the carousel. So ideally I just have JSON formats or like a CSV file or something that is like an output from a make.com module. And I just have a VA have a new task every time that is generated. And they go in there, create the carousel by just importing it. And they export the carousel and then they add it to the post that's in the Airtable row. So there's a lot of different components here. Building a high quality content system is not easy. There's a lot of moving parts to it, but this is kind of what I'm thinking through. And so let me show you kind of some of the other thoughts that I had around this, the components. So before I even was thinking about what is a high quality LinkedIn content system, you have to say, what are the components of high quality copy? Problems, value props, desired outcomes, pain points, niche audiences. These were the 5 that I could think of. There's probably more. You can probably get it even more specific, but these are the first ones. And then I was essentially thinking through what are the different variations of taking that and like creating it into content, right? So you can start with the problem. You can have the prompt be saying, based on this user problem, write this content. You could also do the problem and the solution. Based on this problem and this solution, write the content. There's every single different variation of this, right? So you give it the problem, solution, and the niche audience, creates the content. Ideally, the most comprehensive one would be based on the newsletter, you extract the problem, solution, niche audience, and pain point, and then you generate the content. And so there's a lot of different aspects of this. Another thing that I'm thinking through into the next version of this content system is having different personas. So I can just have preloaded customer personas, problems, value props, desired outcomes, pain points for persona 1, 2, 3, however many you want to have. These are preloaded into an Airtable base. And then when you're calling the prompts in make.com, you're just pulling directly these variables from Airtable. And so the idea here is there's this process called business model generation and value proposition design. And the core insight that I was having here was that in order to write high quality copy, you need to do the process of value proposition design and business model generation well. The clearer you are on what your business is, who it serves, the higher quality the copy is. So you always got to think of like what is important. If the goal is to write high quality copy, maybe you have to actually start with business model generation. but not to get too bogged down in it solely for the purpose of getting clarity on the copywriting, right? And so essentially this is what the process could look like for you. You have high performing content, and the more effective that content is, it leads to trust and it leads to clients, right? And so that is the essence of this process. Another one that I will create in another video that I'm creating is YouTube video link. You pull the transcript, you extract all of these data points above all these components, you extract it from the transcript, convert it to JSON, and then you use those JSON objects as variables into your prompt. And you kind of run through the same LinkedIn post generation process that we did in this video with all of the variables and such. And so there's a couple different things to think about here. And the essence is this. Prompt engineering is the key factor that will differentiate you. This is all prompt engineering, right? Although prompt engineering, you can think about it as writing high quality prompts. Part of writing high quality prompts is understanding what are the components, what are the input variables that I want to have in there. Is it problems? Is it solutions? Like all of these, the data, like you can have high quality data, but you also have to know like how to chunk that data, how to categorize that data. And if you don't categorize it and chunk it, it's not going to be high quality, right? And so the way that you identify the best variables is you just test them. You test different variables and prompts and you see which content performs the best. And another thing of creating high quality copy on like LinkedIn, YouTube, these things, is you want to prompt chain. And so that's kind of what we saw with in one of the previous videos with the Twitter thread automation. You want to create a chain. You want to create a prompt that writes the Twitter thread, and then you want to create a prompt that writes the headline to the thread using the output of the first AI module as an input into the second one. And vice versa. Maybe you write the headline and you use the headline as a variable to put into the next prompt. And so I guess it was in this one with the different aspects of the process. So you can see how to go from the article to the scheduled post, there was like 4 different steps in between. Each one refines the copy a little bit more. I mean, this is the big differentiator, right? If you only use one prompt and you're not prompt chaining, your output is not going to be as good. And so when we think about theory of constraints here, you have to think about like what is actually most important, right? I've gotten bogged down in these systems for so long, and like if I urge you to just like create it, figure it out, generate content and schedule it. Like the most important thing is that you're literally build the system and get it running as fast as possible. You don't want to build 20 systems and like test them all in make.com but never have any real world feedback, right? So the constraint here is higher quality content that leads to more clients for your business. And so first you need to deeply understand copywriting and input that into the prompt. And you have to understand why it's working or why it's not, right? But when we think about theory of constraints here, the most important thing is that you're actually just putting out content. Like if you're not putting out content, nothing matters. First, there's actually this process. Let me actually map it out here. There's 4 stages of high quality content, and it's this. Why is this so small? This is the stages of high quality content, right? So you go to no content, you don't know how to make content, to lots of content, lots of shitty content, to some good content, to lots of good content, right? And so you can see here, if you're in this no content, if you're not actually creating any content right now, you want to get to the lots of shitty content phase as fast as possible, because only from that phase is where you can start to refine and then start creating good content. So let me know if this was helpful. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.